What's up, everybody? So Boku no Hero Macadamia is this brand new show that premiered on Saturday, and I can't wait to talk about it. The show is written and produced by Marvel Studios Disney Japan. Okay, no, so let me get serious and tell you what my history is with this show, okay? For those of you who don't know, once season 1 premiered, I made like 2 or 3, it might have been 2 episode reviews of each episode in the beginning, and then I kept watching up until like episode 4, and then I just straight up dropped it. And one of the main reasons for that is that as I was watching the show, I would always ask myself, okay, this looks good, you know, visually it looks good, but what makes it different to any of the other shonen that I've been exposed to in the past? And I couldn't come up with an answer to that question, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people that were watching the show at the time couldn't either. So I just dropped it. Now I already have an answer to that question, and I'm gonna tell you what that is at the end, but just know that, you know, as a newcomer to this show, in the beginning episodes, I mean, there were a lot of similarities. I mean, a lot of stuff that I could just, you know, sort of point to that I felt was definitely influenced in one way or another by Naruto. Like, you know, the main character in the beginning starts out being an outcast. He feels insecure about himself, and then he gains this ability that sort of helps him gain a little bit more confidence and a little bit more hope in himself. Just like Naruto in the first episode was just a lonely student that couldn't really do much of anything. He was a loser, and then he gets the Shadow Clone Scroll, and then he feels a little bit better, and he has like Iruka Sensei. To make things worse, Eraserhead kind of fits into the same mold that Kakashi does as a sensei, and the main character also has a rivalry with a childhood friend who thinks he's better than everybody else. Gachan! Sasuke! And I know people can say, well, it's because this show is about heroes, it's not about ninjas, but really that's a very trivial, minor difference that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day, because every group of protagonists, every writer, okay, from this new wave of shonen, all right, has called their group of people something different. In One Piece, it's pirates. In Bleach, it's Soul Reapers. In Fairy Tail, it's mages. In Naruto, is ninjas. And this here is about heroes. And there's a little bit of a thematic difference, but when it comes to the overall story, really, these names basically are just an excuse to say, this story is about a group of people, a group of characters that can use special powers. And so the question then becomes, if the shonen genre right now is oversaturated with characters that have special powers, then how can you make your manga stand out and be different? And the truth of the matter is that it's going to come down to 2 things. It's going to come down to the story, and it's also going to come down to the characters. And so the beginning episodes of this anime, I have to be honest, were very, very hard to get through. All right, they were so hard to get through that it took me this long to get through them, because Deku wouldn't stop being an insecure crybaby throughout the beginning of this show. It's like I would sit there and watch the episodes, and every scene he was in, I would literally think to myself, when is he going to stop being a little bitch? And I know you can say, well, it's because he didn't have a quirk and his dream was to become a hero, so that was a major letdown. Let me tell you something, all right? Batman doesn't have a quirk. Right? He doesn't have a quirk, and he's Batman. Not only that, but he saw his parents get shot in front of him, and he still went on to become Batman. Deku is acting like not having a quirk is like having cancer in the beginning of this series. And I do think that the show is slowly working its way towards delivering the message that what makes a true hero has very little to do with your special power. It's more about how you react in the face of adversity, and I think that's something that Deku has to learn, and he's not there yet, and I understand because he's young and it's a shonen and you have to go through the journey. And you know, he does progress, you know, especially he like becomes a little bit more confident in himself, just as a person, not even as a hero, but as a person by the end of season 1. But then, you know what this show does? Okay, the moment Deku gains some confidence in himself, the series introduces another crybaby by the name of Mineta. It's like, in case you forgot, right? In case you missed that insecure crybaby of a character, here is another one that is just as much of a crybaby as Deku used to be, except he's much, much worse. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to take this time to offer you some life advice. In life, you can only be one of 3 things, all right? You can have a crappy ability, all right? You can be a crybaby, or you can be a pervert. So pick wisely which one of these 3 traits you want to have, okay? Because you can't have all 3. And if you happen to have all 3, which is Mineta's case, then your life is destined to suck massively. How anyone could have thought that it would be a good idea to combine these 3 character traits into one and have that character exist in a story is beyond me. I mean, who even asked for that? Now, I don't read the manga, and currently right now in the anime, I'm in the beginning stages of the Chunin exam arc, or I think it was called the Sports Festival arc. Yeah, I just finished watching the episode where Todoroki is talking to Deku about his backstory. Just briefly mentions, you know, a little bit of his past, and I'm like, oh no, not another one of these characters. Oh no. From what I've seen of him as of right now, like Todoroki is literally the anime version of Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, if you haven't seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I understand not everybody saw that or grew up with it like I did, Zuko has almost like, he has a scar on his face, all right? He can control fire, and he's very, very internally conflicted, and a lot of that conflict stems from his parents, primarily his father, all right? So it's kind of like the same thing. It's like, wow. And not only that, but Zuko, when the show was going on, fangirls would flock to Zuko like crazy, all right? And it's funny because when we did the live stream on Roger Space's channel, we talked a little bit about this show off air, and I distinctly remember that we were talking about how the Todoroki fangirls were getting out of control. It's like, at this point in time, I don't even know that much about the character. All I know is that Todoroki is literally a fangirl dumpster. Zuko got his scar because of his father burning his face. And it appears that like Todoroki got his scar because of his mother burning his face. So here's what I don't understand, because it's like he hates his dad for being a jerk because he couldn't be number one, and so he's passing on his issues onto him because he wants him to be number one and beat All Might. So, you know, he's a jerk or whatever, so it's okay that he doesn't like his dad, but at the same time it's like, dude, your mother burned your face. I don't care why she did that. If she actually did do that to her son, that is messed up. And I find it very hard to believe that he has a problem with, you know, using the flame, using the fire side, and not using the ice, even though the woman literally poured boiling water on him. And there's also a line in that episode where Deku pretty much says, oh my gosh, my flashback can't compare to the tragedy of his flashback. And he goes on to say, if this were a comic, Todoroki would be the main character, which is hilarious for two reasons. Number one, this is an anime based off of a comic, off of a manga, and number two is that if Todoroki were the main character, I'd drop this anime in a heartbeat for the second time. I just don't need another Zuko replica in this story, so hopefully that changes. I'm going to give it time, because in all honesty, like, Zuko did it first. From a power standpoint, I think Zuko did it better because Zuko was not as overpowered as Todoroki was. Like, Zuko could control fire. He could, like, redirect lightning, but that was an extension of something that he learned, like, pretty much throughout the series. And it actually took him a while to learn, all right? Versus Todoroki, like, his quirk is literally that he has two quirks. He's just been holding back and kind of nerfing himself because of the internal conflict that he has. But once he gets through those issues, I mean, he's going to be so overpowered. It's not even funny. Like, you have any idea how easy life is for people that have good genes and a good mental health? Whew, you're like cruising. And also, I think he has a pretty good approach to teamwork, at least in the beginning stages of it, that I think is kind of a combination of what, like, Naruto was trying to do in the beginning and what One Piece does. It's like Deku understands that he has to be an individual, but he also, you know, relies on people, and he has gotten as far as he has because people have helped him. So that's a pretty good combo. And even then, you know, if you take away those two reasons, the real answer that I came up with is that, substantially speaking, when it comes to what does this show do different that is substantially different from other shonen, the answer is that it doesn't do anything different. But what I learned is that maybe that's not a deal breaker for a lot of you.